got the privilege of interviewing my old boss and good friend, Ira Dean, from the band Trick Pony, Nashville songwriter, bass player, sessions, producing, songwriting, you name it. The man has learned to navigate the ups and downs of the music business. You're gonna love this. Here we go. Dude,
Dude,
dude.
let me get outside.
All right.
What's happening, man?
What's happening? How you doing, man?
Life is great, brother. Life is great.
Yeah, you're down in Florida, man.
Yeah, I'm at the house till for a little bit. I'll stay down here for till the 30th, I think, and I head back to Nashville.
So you're working both places. You're got a place in Florida and you've got a place in Nashville. That's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, man. I spend like 1 week a month in Florida and then work down in Nashville and do all my stuff 3 weeks a month.
That's awesome.
Man, you look great, brother. You look
Thank you.
great.
Thank you. The last time you saw me, we were on a tour bus and I had a black beard, had a hair, and I was probably chugging some kind of bottle or something. So I was in pretty rough road shape at that point in time.
Hey, we all go through it. We all got to do what we got to do, man.
Exactly. So everybody, this is Ira Dean. He is the founding member of Trick Pony, and now solo, and probably has over 50 cuts in the country music scene. Am I right? Is that all correct?
Yeah, so far so good. Yeah.
So the amazing thing is, navigating the music business, the ups and the downs, and and the cool thing about this interview is, he was formerly my boss, because in around, it was about 2005 or 2006, and here's the thing, the tipsy topsy world of touring. You guys had another guitar player, another Brad, great guitar player, and just did an amazing job with you guys. But as it happens on the road, sometimes you get a little deep in your cups, and so you got to replace Brad with another Brad who's not quite deep in his cups yet.
I didn't have to remember a new name. It was great.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, that dude. But man, this is an amazing. I'm so glad that you were able to do this, and I want to get business before pleasure. You have a new single out called Tele Man, right?
Yeah, sure do.
And you got Ronnie Dunn and Brent Mason, and begin.
Okay, so I got a new song called Tele Man. It's me and Ronnie Dunn and Vince Gill and John Osborne from Brother Osborne and Brent Mason. And I wish I wrote the song. I wish I would have wrote it, but my producer Noah Gordon played me this song that Jeffrey Steele had written probably 20 years ago. Wow. And me and my producer were talking about, I just watched the documentary on the Traveling Wilburys. And I tried to put like a Traveling Wilburys thing together. It's been a dream of mine to like have an all-star band my whole life. And I ended up getting another solo deal, and Tele Man was played, and I was like, we're going to do the Traveling Wilburys thing on this. So I called Vince, I called John Osborne. Brent Mason was the first one to say yeah. He put his parts down. Then I believe Vince and John Osborne, and I was riding with Ronnie Dunn that one day, and he's like, I hear you got another deal. And I was like, yeah, man. And he's like, play me a song. So I played him Tele Man. And I said, man, I want you to sing on this album with me. So I played him Tele Man. He goes, well, what about that song right there? I didn't even think about it. And I was like, really? And he goes, I want second verse and second chorus. And I was like, heck yeah, man. So yeah. Ronnie jumped on board, and man, I tell you what, he does all the radio stuff with me and all the TV stuff. And I can't say enough good things about Ronnie Dunn, man. He's been a good one.
One of the greatest country singers of all time, right?
Yes. My favorite, back, I was I'm a jack of all trades. It's weird. I'm a bass player. I'm a studio musician. I'm a songwriter, and I'm a road dog, and blah blah blah, and a producer. But back when I was just doing sessions, man, um, back when I was just songwriting, everybody was trying to get a George Strait cut, and I was writing for Brooks and Dunn. I was trying to get a Brooks and Dunn cut because I just loved Ronnie Dunn's voice, and I never did. And now, we've rekindled a friendship. He's cut a few of my songs. We've written about 30 songs together.
Wow.
And man, he's just been a great friend, a great comrade, a musical. He gives me a lot of advice. I can't say enough about him, man. He's a great dude.
And so I want to encourage everybody. I'm going to put a link in the description. Click on it. Look, a lot of guitar players tune into my channel. You got Brent Mason. That's all I need. That's all I need to tell you. Now, does Vince play some licks on it too? Or
Yeah, man. We got the new video. We all got together in a studio and shot a video, and Vince played some great tasty stuff on there. I mean, all three of those cats, man, are just incredible. John Osborne's a freak of nature.
Wow.
It was great, man.
So,
And the groove and everything was just great, man.
who played drums on it?
Greg Morrow played drums on it. In the video, that's me back there playing drums. But I called Morrow, and he had another session. I was like, well, I'll just fake it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I played drums in the video. But this whole album, I got a new album coming out in January, and man, I had some great cats on it. Not only country cats, but rock cats. I had of course, Ronnie Dunn, Vince Gill, John Osborne. I had Gary Allen, David Lee Murphy. I called Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent played some guitar on some stuff. Steve Ferroni from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers flew in from LA, and he played drums on half the album. Who else is on? Gretchen Wilson, Uncle Cracker. Wow. I mean, I just called all my friends. At my age, I don't know if I'm going to make another record, so I want to call everybody I know and say, hey, I'm making one. You want to do one?
Yeah.
And so it's a great album. It comes out in January. It's called I Got Roads. And man, I'm just having fun. I'm having fun again. You know how this business is, Brad. You go ups and downs and love it, hate it, want to jump back in, want to quit it, all that.
Dude, that's why people tune into this channel, because they know I'm going to tell them, look, kids, look, old guys, it's friggin' hard. You're going to get kicked in the teeth. You got to keep figuring out, reinventing yourself. And like you said, you were probably the smartest of all of us because you've got that 5-finger approach, multiple things that you do. Now, one of the hardest things is getting cuts. But you and I just from being an outsider and watching you on the tour bus, you were always working the phones. And I don't mean that as like your phone sales, but you have a Rolodex of everybody, man. You got actors, you got comedians, it's like I'm not sitting there and you're talking on the phone and it's like name some famous actor or some comedian or whatever, and you're just like talking to them like it's and that is how you stay in it. Because how do you get cuts? They're going to get cuts. One, you're writing with great writers, right?
Yeah.
And then you're talking to people and you're connecting. You're making the connections. That's hard work, dude.
Well, you can't. I learned at a young age in Nashville. I moved to Nashville in 1990 at a young pup.
Wow.
And if you're waiting for somebody else to do the work for you, you're going to wait all day. So I learned to do the heavy lifting early, and I'm just kind of adapted to it. That's what I've always done, and try to capitalize on situations. A lot of people swap numbers and they never reach out, and then they wonder why they didn't get the gig or they're not writing with them. Man, I'm blowing it up. If they give me their number, I tell you, don't give me your number unless you want me to call, because I'll call. And thank God, man. I mean, I came to town as a drummer. I came to town wanting to be just a drummer for people. I didn't plan on being a songwriter. I didn't plan on being a bass player. I played guitar, I played bass, I played piano, but my main instrument was drums. and uh, I ended up playing in this band with Johnny Cash's son, John Carter, who's still one
Yeah.
of my best friends. And I was playing drums in the band, and we showed up to the gig, and the bass player couldn't make it. And John Carter's like, "Hey, you're playing bass tonight," and I was like, I had never played bass in front of nobody. I played on like demos for myself. And he's like, "We can do a gig without a drummer. We can't do it without a bass player."
Wow.
And that's what it kind of fell into the bass playing situation. And there was a lot of great drummers in Nashville at that time. You know Nashville. It's like you get a mess load of drummers one year, and then a mess load of bass players come to town. And then, well, at
Yeah.
that time there wasn't a lot of bass players, and so I switched to bass, and instantly I was getting called for a lot of stuff. And then, in the songwriting thing, it just kind of fell out the same way. I'm in a room and people are writing a song, and I kind of jump in and write a little bit. I didn't come to town as a songwriter, and lo
Yeah.
and behold, it started. Oh, I write songs, and then you start writing more, and I just keep spinning plates, man. You know
Yeah.
how it is. Keep
Yeah.
them all going.
And one of the greatest moments, I think, in country music history, and everybody in here who's ever been fired from a gig, anybody who's been canned or whatever, I was sitting at home, and what was it, the CMT Awards or something like that?
It was the ACM Awards, the Academy of Country Music Awards.
You're up there on stage, and you guys got an award, right? Trick Pony gets an award, and you thanked your former boss for firing you. And
Yeah,
I was like, dude, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. Tell
man,
us the
Tanya.
story.
Well, I played for Tanya Tucker for, I don't know, it seemed like longer than it is. Anyways, I ended up getting fired like three times in the year and a half or 2 years I played with her, or three. I don't know how long I played with her. It's a long time ago, but I got fired in 1996 the last time. And me and Tanya we stayed in contact. You know
Yeah,
me, if I got a
yeah,
phone number, I'm using
yeah,
it. But it's kind of stuck in my craw because I really love that gig. I love the band, Raymond Massey on
yeah.
drums, and it was a great band. And T was a great boss. And anyways, I got fired in '96. Well, fast forward to 2001, and we win the new group of the year. So I walked up to the microphone and thanked Tanya Tucker for firing me in 1996. And the first person to call me was Tanya and congratulate. I can't say what she said. There were some F bombs, but she's like, "You little crazy," that was the
That,
most epic thing I've ever seen. I was like, "Thanks, Tanya." So
dude.
yeah, it was life is full circle, man.
And see, she's a woman with some real cojones,
Yes.
and a powerhouse on stage and off.
Yeah. I can tell you this, man. I have never, I've seen her come to shows hung over, flu, sick. I have never, ever, ever, even in the worst health, when she's had the flu, I've never heard her sing bad.
Yeah.
That is a trained professional if there's
Oh,
ever been a professional.
yeah.
She goes out there and does her job, and you would never know in the audience. The curtain's shut, and she's like, "Oh my God, I pulled that one off." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, you did." She's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Show horse. A show
Damn
horse.
right.
And
Damn
once
right.
once the light comes on, it gets to trotting.
Oh hell yeah.
It's
You're
it's
that way on guitar, man. I've seen you backstage. I'm like, "Oh, I don't know if we're gonna pull this off." And you get on there and the lights come on and it's game time.
it has to be, man. And if they have to put a trash can behind the amp, put the trash can back there just in case,
You
right?
dang right. You dang right, man. The show must go on.
It does, man. But that was one of the most epic things I'd ever seen. And I wasn't playing, this is before you guys weren't even on my radar. I'm not like a guy that's like listens to country music. I live in Nashville, but I'm off doing blues and funk and all that other stuff.
First time I saw you play, I think was with the Wooten Brothers at Third and Lindsley on a Wednesday or something.
Yeah, yeah, and it was playing that gig that Paul Chapman, knowing him, and so when you guys needed a guitar player, he, threw my name in the hat, But here's the thing, man. I didn't come to Nashville to play country, but you were a major part of amping up country and putting a rock edge into the sound. And people said, well, man, how'd you end up playing country? I said, country music changed And all of a sudden, it was kind of looking for rock guitar players for that big sound to fill those arenas. And that's
Yeah,
when
man.
all of a sudden the phone's ringing. And I'm like, well, hey. And then I'm like, man, these guys rock. Yeah, I'll go do this, you know?
Yeah, man. I mean, there was a time when country music was Telecasters, and that was a great period. And then, early 2000s, the Les Pauls started coming in and big money, big rake chords and,
Yeah.
and they wanted to fill arenas. Man, you're the best. You're in that era that I loved about Nashville where everybody was well-rounded players, man. If you had a jazz gig on a Tuesday, and a country gig on a Thursday and a rock gig on a Friday.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. You could
Didn't
fill
matter.
you could fill any shoes, man. You're a talented cat, brother.
Thank you, brother. Sometimes on the same gig.
Yeah.
I'm serious, dude. You show up for the gig and you're thinking you're going to do one thing and they go, girl from Ipanema. What? Oh.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
It's like shifting gears, man. But it's the same thing you've done with your career is, look, bands are a hard thing to keep together, and it's like you can't rely on one other person or two other people or four other people. Eventually something is gonna, and the crazy thing with Trick Pony was I joined up with you guys, and I think it was like 2 months later, Heidi walks on the bus and goes, I'm leaving the band. And I'm like, I just got here, dude. What? I
I
left
know.
my other gig to come do this. And I remember you guys coming on the bus, and I'm like, dude, let's just pull us Dave and Sammy. Let's just get Sammy in here and because I want to play. You
Dude,
know?
I just wanted to play too. It was a kick in the jimmy to me too, man. I remember walking back up. It was a truck stop
Yes.
on the way back from Minnesota, from Minneapolis. It was snowing like hell up there, and we were driving back. And we got pulled over in that truck stop, and she told us, and yeah, that was bands are hard, man, because it's like a marriage. In that band, it was a three-way marriage, and marriages have bumpy roads, and you got to all be on the same page to pull forward, and every circus has a clown, and every band's got an asshole. So there you go.
Well, the thing is there were three people, and each person had a different idea of what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I knew what you wanted, but what you didn't know is right before showtime, I got another person in the band going, I want you to play the whole gig traditional country. And like minutes before we start the playing,
Yeah.
and I'm like, man, one, that's not really what I do. So I'm like, how do I shift that gear? But wait a minute, I know that other dude, I know the dude playing bass right now doesn't want me to do that.
Man,
So it's like, what do? You can't.
well, that's a hard thing to be in, man. I would have hated to be the bass player for our band and be a backup guy, because there were three captains of that ship. And yeah, we started out on the same musical journey, had the same we all had the same compass, and somewhere along the line, the compass is true north was three different directions for us. And the musical, I wanted to rock out. I wanted stuff with edge, and somebody else in the band wanted more traditional stuff, and somebody else in the band wanted old school stuff. It happens, and
Yeah.
we should have sat down. We should have talked it out, but I think we just couldn't get on the same page, man.
Yeah.
I think you did a great job, man. It was a hard juggling act.
But and here's some fun. Let's get into some fun
All
because
right.
we had a tour. Look, it's hard to get a good tour manager. And
Oh no, don't even say it, man.
but now I'm just going to kind of talk about it because it's like you almost kind of live or die by a tour manager, and it's like it's impossible because one, he's got maybe the hardest job on the gig because he's got to deal with all the nonsense with the promoters and all that kind of stuff and bus stock and riders and all that, advancing the dates and all that. But then he's got to juggle the artist and then deal with the band, it's a whole nother entity. And then if you're like having troubles finding a tour manager, which we went through a few of them, and some of them would graduate to the office, would graduate. Like we had a really good one at first, Bart.
Yeah, he was great. Bart was great. He moved down here to Florida too.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
He lives outside of Orlando, I think.
Wow, that's not far from me. But
Yeah,
I don't even know if you can bring up the subject that I'm kind of.
I already know where you're going, man. Go ahead.
We had a guy, right? And the funny thing is the other male in the group, and I'm not like gonna mention names, but I remember him coming on the bus. And look, you're on a pirate ship. This is a pirate ship. A band on the road is a pirate ship. There's a captain, there's all these different characters. And at any point, you could do something and it's like walk the plank and you're gone, because it's this crazy chaotic kind of thing, and everybody's kind of pushing the limits of what they can get away with. And at one point, the other male on the gig comes on the bus and goes, well, you boys, jobs are all safe, because as long as he's tour manager, there ain't nothing you can do to top his screw ups.
Exactly. It was bad.
Like,
I don't even know how long that guy worked for us, but it seemed like eternity. It was that was like dog years. That was horrible.
So, I would say it kind of explained itself the first day. The first weekend we go out with this tour manager, he brings his girlfriend on the bus, who clearly had not slept in 72 hours and was, tweaking. And then very seductively, oh, hi, like flirting. And it's like, crack thing, please.
Yeah.
Crack thing. You cross. And you're like going, he's supposed to be the guy that's doing the right stuff and keeping us from bringing, our whack jobs on the bus. And who is, like, now we've got this thing. This thing is on the bus. And that was the first weekend.
Yeah, that's setting the pace right there. And that was probably the least of our worries throughout the rest of the short run.
And
it's hard
he was sensitive too. He was
sensitive. Yeah. He was sensitive, and it just wasn't a good fit. It was not a good fit. And I felt sorry for y'all, man, because I just stayed away. Me back then, if I wasn't on stage, I'd just go find a pub somewhere and disappear.
Yeah, or go to the room or something like that. It was here's the thing, man. You don't remember the good gigs where everything went smoothly and everything was just, hunky dory. Oh, great job, guys. And you get on the bus and do this. What you end up remembering as we get 30 some years or 20 years later, I think it's about 20 years. 20 years later, I remember everything that dude did. I know every single moment of screw ups, and it floods back. Every now and then I'll have a nightmare that he's on a bus and that guy's in charge. And that is the stuff you remember, kids.
I think everybody watching this podcast is going to have a counter on how many times I have to apologize to you, Brad. I'm sorry I put you through that, man.
No, dude, I'm thankful. Look, one of my most recent videos was my first road gig where I got fired. And I tell the story of how I was out with an artist who was a little more prim and proper, and I got caught sneaking a girl out of my room. And she saw me sneaking the girl out of the room, and I'm like, oh, I think I just got fired. And so that video, it just went, I'm like, well, damn, I should have gotten fired more often. Because people can relate to that. You know, it's like, and it's another thing. I'll always remember that because it was one of the catastrophes that happens, you know, and man, I'm elated that I had that moment in time and those experiences because, dude, I can still laugh today thinking about it.
Man, I tell you, for y'all out there, if you're doing it for the money, hang it up now, man. But if you want some crazy stories at the tail end of your life to look back on,
Come on,
that's it, man.
get
Come
on the
on,
bus, bro.
jump on the bus and turn your phone off and just watch.
That was okay. So that's a funny segue. So at one time, so we grab another singer, right, and we go back
Yeah.
out on the road. And I remember we brought Tim Hardiman. He watches this channel. He's actually a member of this channel.
Uh-huh.
Brought Tim Hardiman and a couple camera guys, you know, on the road. And these guys were all getting on the bus and, well, what's going to happen now? You know, they were, I could see it in their eyes. It's like when a new guy comes into jail and you see him and you're like, look, man, no, 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 don't look that guy in the eye. No, no, don't do that. Here's what's going to happen. You know, well, what's going to happen tomorrow? All right, let me tell you, you know, and so, you know, it's just, you know, getting on the bus, they weren't prepared for it either. I think they ended up going, well, we're just going to run off to the hotel we're going to get a room somewhere for 5 hours. We'll see y'all at showtime or something.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they just, people don't realize it's most of the time it's being on this bus and just living in bus world, you know, and
It can be a frat party. As you used to say, the inmates are running the asylum.
you know, it's rolling down the freeway at 2 in the morning, blasting Van Halen
Yep.
with a cold beer in your hand, and you're telling jokes, and you know, and it's just it's a pirate's life.
It's a great life. I wouldn't do anything else, man. People that work for the IRS don't get these kind of stories.
No.
There's no other job in the world that you get these kind of stories.
And that's why people like to tune in because they know I'm going to give them these stories. A lot of times I won't put any names or I'm not trying to call anybody out. And, you know, I hope if that tour manager is still alive, which I'm not sure he is,
No, I don't think so.
but, you know, and here's the funny thing though, dude. I looked up that guy because when I started doing this channel, I'm like, I wonder whatever happened to that dude. And I found a reference to his name and his nickname, and he was stepping down from a position from Megadeth.
Really?
Yes. And I saw the post and the way it was written. Oh, it's now stepping down as tour manager or whatever. And it was like, that sounds exactly like him. It sounds like some catastrophe has happened and he's going to have to, you know, step down. And it was a very gracious press release, but it
Yeah.
was like,
With him, there was never some little accident. It was always big ones. It was like those crap moments. It's
dude.
like, can you just have a small screw up? Just a small one?
So he at one time he fell. You remember this?
Oh God, I said his nose. Are you remember?
I forgot. That's a detail I forgot. He split his nose like wide open or something, right?
He ran across the street from the pub to the bar. I was right behind him, and he caught his toes on the median and just nose planted and never put his hands out. And when he sat up, his nose was sideways, and he was bleeding like crazy. And I grabbed his head and I said, close your eyes." He closed them, and I just went, and then it went back into place.
But he had to go to the hospital, and I think he had like two black eyes and his nose. I mean, it was like a Frankenstein thing, dude.
Oh
And the
yeah.
funny thing is, as tour manager, you're almost the face of the group because when he's the first guy off the bus and he's got to go into the club and go, "Hello, I'm such and such," you know, and we're sending in this guy that looks like friggin' Frankenstein. But oh, Dude, I mean, it was just like, you boys' job is all safe
That
because
that sets the presence of that band. No wonder we should have imploded years before that.
it should have just blown up and become the next Led Zeppelin at that point.
Yeah, we could
Because the
good.
stories are rivaling anything that you would hear. This, I'm going to encourage once again to click on Tele Man. I'm going to put the video here because this is going to go down as the greatest interview on this channel because we're going deep, deep, deep undercover.
Let's do it. I'm in, brother.
So can you give me some, first, we talked about working the phones and getting cuts. It's a difficult business to navigate, but you've cultivated relationships with some great songwriters. And I remember hearing you one time talk about songwriters like baseball hitters. And you would say, and you said, yeah, the term was something like, yeah, he's been taking some real good cuts at the ball right now, or something.
Just great swings at it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you were going, man, that guy's really hitting the ball well right now.
yeah,
I need to get with him. You were really keeping an eye on who had their finger on the pulse because
yeah.
it is this thing that's just constantly changing, and you're trying to make sure you're still in the
You're
still
still
in.
relevant. Songwriting's just like being a musician, man. Music changes, and you either adapt or you get left behind, and you do your thing. Songwriting's the same way, and if you want to be a better songwriter, you got to write with great songwriters, guys that blow you away, and find out how they're doing it. Like you want to play like whoever. You ever notice you play better around better guitar players? You
Yeah.
start reaching, you keep going out, and so like I was lucky enough to form a relationship with like the Jeffrey Steels, David Lee Murphy, um, Craig Wiseman, Chris Wallen. Cats that just blew me away. Aaron Barker that blew me away songwriting. Late great Kim Tribble, and I I polished my craft watching those guys. It was like going to school. And then every once in a while, like somebody comes along like an Anthony Smith or something that's hitting the ball great, and you got to jump in that camp. It's like, man, I got to write with that guy. I got to figure things out, and that's what I've done my whole career is just try to surround myself with the best of the best. Well, what I consider the best of the best. There's this whole new group of songwriters that have come to town that are just blowing me away right now. And I'm,
So,
once
so there's
again,
new guys now. You're
there's
saying,
new cats in their 20s that are coming to town that there's a handful of cats that are really hitting the ball great, man. and
wow.
and it's like the Morgan Wallens, the Hardys. There's a new kid named Styles that I've been writing with Styles a little bit. Man, the ball bounces different rhythmically for those new cats.
Yeah.
I want to learn that. So baptized by fire. I get in the room, with the Styles and the younger cats and find out how to do that. And so, man, I just always try to put myself in the room with what's happening.
Yeah.
That's how I've stayed relevant. And every once in a while, I get a hit. I'm like a musical cicada. Every 7 years, I'll have another hit.
Man, so now something that I've noticed, with AI, the rise of AI now, and I've often wondered if you're in these writing rooms now, are guys sitting there with a laptop with Chat GPT going, I mean, you're laughing, but man,
You know what? I'm sure somebody's doing that. I'm 100% sure somebody somewhere is doing that. But the cats I write with are just really, I think they're way smarter than AI. You
yeah,
know, there's got to be a human factor to anything,
yeah,
and especially songwriting because you're dealing with heart and soul and emotions, and you're trying to tug at strings. It isn't just words with me. It's painting. It's painting with sound, trying to touch somebody's spirit. And
yeah,
I think right now, maybe in 5 years, AI will be amazing, and it'll probably put us all out of business. but right now there's still a human factor that people want to be connected.
Yeah.
It's like drum sequencing compared to a real drummer laying it in.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
it
Still
just
better with a drummer.
still better with those breaths, and that
Yeah.
space and that human factor where it just kind of sways a little bit,
Yeah.
pushes and pulls a little bit. And I don't think even with the drum machine, they've gotten better sounds, but they still don't sway and it still doesn't breathe like a real drummer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just like the amp simulators, there's some great ones out there, but once you play into a real amp and there's a lot of air moving, it's a whole different animal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there's another thing that they have now, and I don't know if you've checked this out, but they've got these AI websites where you can type in a prompt, and I can say, write me a country song, that has, the theme of Carolina or something in it.
Yeah.
And I hit the prompt, and literally within about a minute and a half, it spits out the whole friggin' thing, dude. The arrangement, everything with
Yeah.
a vocal. I mean, and now I hear that you can get the stems so that you could separate it and then maybe take out the lead vocal and put a real vocal in or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
I just got reached out to a buddy of mine in LA who's not a songwriter by any means, but he wrote this song. He actually wrote a poem. And he's like, I really want you to listen to it. I'm saying, man, I'm not a big poet guy. He goes, well, I made it into a song. Well, he sent it to me and I listened to it. It wasn't bad. It was pretty
Yeah.
dang good. And I called him and I was like, well, how did you put this thing to music? He goes, I did it on AI, the whole thing. He goes, I wrote the poem, I typed it in, and I told AI to put a melody to it. And it wasn't bad at all.
Yeah.
But, he wants me to, my honest opinion. I was like, we can tweak this here and here and here. It's a good tool, but it's not, I don't know how to explain it. To me, it's like trying to bring a Yugo to a car race. It's just not going to keep up, man.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it will, 5 years down the road, who knows? There might be a human element to it. But right now, it's just like a drum machine. Like I said, people don't come to shows to hear perfection. They come to get moved. They come to feel something.
Yeah.
And I've been really lucky writing songs that are connecting. And what I just write about real life. I write about my life and real stuff that affected me, and hopefully somebody can relate to it. And I don't think a computer hasn't lived through the ups and downs, the peaks and valleys, the oh shit of life. And so it can mimic it, but it ain't going to perfect it. It ain't going to live.
The only thing that is the difference is for us, we have to be inspired, and that magic has to kind of channel down at the right moment in time.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like if you haven't lived enough life, you can't write a great song. If you haven't had your heart stomped on, it's hard to write a heartbreaking song. But the computer, it doesn't care. It just spits it out, it's like
it spits out what, kind of what it thinks it should say. It's almost like you see a comedian tell a joke and his timing is amazing, and you laugh your butt off, but then somebody who's not a comedian tries to tell that joke. He's like, I saw this comedian on TV, and they tell the joke and nobody laughs. Like, oh, well, you just got to see it. That's the difference to me between human and AI. It's just trying to replicate something that is just not selling yet. But it's early. The thing is, every year things get better and better and better.
Yeah.
Who knows?
You've got us who have experienced real music and played real music, and we know the beauty of the imperfection. But I know a lot of kids, like my wife's sister, she only listens to pop, and it's all that computerized, overtuned, laptop music. And they don't have any concept. They've never taken the kids to a concert. They have no physical connection to anything. And somebody like that, you could feed them AI crap and
Yeah.
they'll lap it up, and
I,
that is the problem.
I've got a great story. This has been, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago, between 10 and 15 years ago. EMI flew me and a handful of songwriters out to LA to write with, Pink's producer and, CeeLo and all these, And so I'm in this studio. They bring me in the studio, and I had never, now it's in Nashville. I mean, it's every day. I go in and there's a guy there that I'm supposed to write with. And then there's a dude over here with a laptop, and there's an engineer. It's a great studio.
Yeah.
So I'm like looking at the dude on the laptop, waiting for him to throw some lines out. He ain't doing nothing. He's just typing. And we get done with the song, we write it, and then the guy goes, "Okay, I got the track." And he pressed space bar, and there's a great track on there. And this is a big, big, big studio. I'm not going to say what name it is.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Great, man. You want me to put because we wrote the song all around this guitar riff I was playing. I said, "You want me to put that guitar thing down to make it feel real?" They, "Oh, heck yeah." So the engineer who's worked there forever walks up, and he's got a microphone and a little boom stand. And he's looking at my acoustic, and he looks at me like a deer in the headlights. And I go, "What?" He goes, "To be honest with you, this is the first time we've ever had a real instrument in here."
Oh,
He did not know how to mic an acoustic guitar. So I said, "Just put it at the 12th fret, little off axis, and we'll
yeah.
be good." And it really taught me a lesson about pop music versus country and real versus programming. And but they had never had a real player in that studio, and they had cut Pink and CeeLo and everybody in there. And yeah, didn't know how to mic an acoustic guitar. I felt like a dinosaur that day. I hope it never
Kids,
that way.
don't
And
listen to pop music.
yeah.
It's the aspartame of music, bro. It's toxic, man.
uh, it's different. I mean, there's some good pop out there, but
Yeah.
I like real. I like,
Yeah.
you and me cut from the same cloth. I'm still an old analog guy.
Yeah.
I like old analog consoles and 2-inch tape, but when you can't find analog and 2-inch tape, I'll cut, you cut on a analog board through Pro Tools
Yeah.
and make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, it's kind of mind blowing because you see where the future is, and there has to be throwback bands. There needs to be throwback country bands. We need to have a resurgent. They should have a band where it's just two twin reverbs, an SVT, an old '70s Sparkle Ludwig kit, and a dude with a telly up front and a fiddle guy on there. And hey, if y'all can't make it work with that, then I can't help you.
Man, there's hope in it, man. I haven't given up. And it's crazy as much as things progressed and gotten really tight and computerized. To me, it's very man. I was at my buddy's house, and he's got a little 7-year-old kid who's learning to play guitar, and he comes in and he's like going down the rabbit hole of music. And he comes in and goes, "Dad, Dad, Dad, you got to hear this." And we're like, "What?" And he goes, "Have you ever heard this band Led Zeppelin?" And was blown away. And I'm like, there is hope.
Wow.
There is hope
Yeah.
that I think is as much as it progresses and gets as polished as it can be, people are still looking back at the old stuff. Even these 7-year-old kids, and and getting blown away by real guys with real instruments that spent time in their basement learning to play this stuff and write this stuff, and know it's not perfect, and know it's not lined up to the grid, but it feels great. And and that's what's all that matters, if it feels good, man.
Yeah. Yeah. We need more of that. But here's the thing, man. Look, I just did a trip up to Birmingham. And remember back in the day, you would walk through the airport and you would see, dudes, and you go, that dude looks like a rock star. That dude looks like a rock star. You'd see, 4 or 5 guys here and there, and people would have that kind of that look, even if they might be a friggin', I don't know, cleaning toilets or something for a living, but they look like rock stars. And I'm going through the airports, man, and I'm going, man, it's like there aren't any. The young kids all kind of look the same. It's all like very meh. And nobody's kind of hanging out there with like some style and some attitude. It just looks like a bunch of drones out there right now. And is there an artist right now that if I was 12 years old that I would put the poster on the wall? Do you think that that exists?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm so out of touch. I'm not 12 years old no more, but
Yeah.
man, it does seem like everybody's swimming in the same stream and swimming in the same direction, and it isn't there for a while. It hasn't been cool to rebel.
Yeah.
It seemed like everybody was thinking the same way. And don't say that might offend, or don't do that, don't do this. And I think people are having enough of it to where you're starting to see some people branch out and swim their own direction, man, and
Yeah.
do their own thing. They'll take a Sharpie and draw a logo on the back of a jean jacket, and you start to see that a little bit here and there now. And I think it's starting to catch on that, man, we don't have to all be the same, man. We don't have to do fit in this little mold. Sometimes you just gotta kick the door open and be different. And I'm starting to see a little bit of that come back, which is great.
Yeah. Now we've got about 10 minutes left, and I
Okay.
want to pay homage to you got two greats as far as guys, from the same era. You got Elvis Presley, who was my idol as a kid, and you got the man in black, Mr. Johnny Cash. And you befriended Johnny Cash. You spent a lot of time with me. Can you give us some inside stuff on Johnny Cash?
Well, man, I became friends with the whole Cash family, starting with John Carter, and I wouldn't be a bass player without John Carter. I'd still be playing drums somewhere. Matter of fact, I got married in February at Johnny and June's house in Jamaica at Cinnamon Hill, and John Carter was officiated the wedding. But Johnny was, man, he was my mentor. He was my hero. He was pitching my songs back when my songs were horrible. I got to stay at his house. I got to stay at a lot of his houses because I was pretty much homeless. And he gave me so much advice. But the biggest thing I miss about him was his sense of humor. I mean, I remember back when Trick Pony was not even named Trick Pony, and we were van and trailering it. We were coming out of Maggie Valley, North Carolina after a gig, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and the radio says Johnny Cash has been hospitalized. He's in critical condition. And I'm like, oh my God. And about that time, we had the old school brick cell phones back then.
Yeah.
And my phone rang, and I pick it up, and it's John. And he's in Vanderbilt Hospital. And I said, John, you all right? They just said, you're in critical condition. He goes, oh, my publicist just wants me to get more press, I guess. And he laughed. Of course, he was, and he had pneumonia. He was in the hospital. And I said, man, it's 3 a.m. What do you want? You okay? He goes, I just need you to tell me some jokes. So I sat there and told him jokes for about 30 minutes while everybody in the van's just looking at me like, I can't believe this. And he'd be laughing. Oh my gosh, that's a good one. I got to get a pen and write that one down. And I miss that sense of humor. He was a great man. Literally gave me the shirt off his back. And John Carter's the same way. They're just a great family with big hearts, man. But Johnny was an icon, man. There'll never be another one.
Yeah, and those guys played loud, from what I understand.
Yes. I was talking to Johnny one time, and he's like, so what do you travel in? And I was like, we just went to 2 buses, which I was thought was a mistake. And he's like, and how many hits have you had? And at that time, I think we had like 3 or 4. And he goes, you know what I got for my fourth number one? I said, what? And he goes, we bought a new Lincoln with air conditioning and a trailer hitch, so we didn't have to tie the upright bass to the top of the car. And that put it all in perspective with me, man. He didn't get a bus till God knows how long, but he drove himself, got a trailer hitch and a trailer so the bass wouldn't get wet no more. And he did it for the love of the music. And I remind myself a lot when I start getting bitter or ticked off, or my song I wrote for somebody died or whatever, to do it for the love of the music, man. And John, that's the best thing Johnny ever taught me, is do it for the love of the music.
That's incredible. Yeah, people don't realize, man, the whole tour bus and the comfort of touring, and granted, it's hard. Even if you got the nicest bus in the world, it's still tough. But man, those guys in the 50s driving Cadillacs and Lincolns, driving all night, and they're probably having to take some accelerants so they don't fall asleep at the wheel. And they didn't
Yeah.
even have drivers back then. They would just
No,
take turns.
yeah, Johnny drove himself, man. Drove himself.
Show up with a briefcase, and then they'd have to collect the money at the end of the night.
Yep, no road manager. Man, you got to do it for the love of them. There's two things Johnny taught me. It's the love of the music, and the second one was he told me, son, when writing songs, always stick with the truth because people recognize the truth right away, even though it might have been years since they heard it. And I was writing a lot of songs for a long time, and when he told me that, I just started writing about my real life. And I learned that you can't get more creative than real life, man. You can make stuff up, but it ain't going to be any better than living it. And that's what kind of my cuts and my career started escalating when I started just writing real stuff.
You hear that, kids? You hear that, Chat GPT, writer's room, bros? You hear that, laptop warriors? It's time to
Man, I
get
love you,
real,
man.
bro. It's
You
time
are,
to get real, man. Man,
man.
this has been absolutely friggin' epic. Every time, we talk, it's always an absolute blast. We're now both in the same state once again, but, I know we're going to talk about doing some stuff down the road. I'm super pumped for that. But man, most of all, I'm just happy to see you healthy, happy, and still kicking that ass.
Man, I tell you what, the hairdos changed. Well, mine hasn't, but your has. The dates have changed, but you are still the damn same, man. I love it, man. You are a bright light, brother. And
Thank you,
much,
man.
much love and much respect to you, Brad. God bless you, man.
Thank you. God bless you, brother. This has been an amazing interview. It could be 3 hours. Well, when I become Rick Beato, then I'm going to have you on and we'll do a whole 3 hour spiel. How about that?
Deal, deal. I'm here, man.
Awesome. I love you, man. Have
Love
a
you too.
great evening, and I'll see you soon.
All right. One last time. The inmates are running the asylum.
Dude, dude, dude. Have a good night, brother.
Take care, brother.
See ya.